Hi there, Alison here with another Cab Franc du jour. Today we're in Bourgueil and we're looking at the Domaine de la Chevalerie 2017 Dyptique Bourgueil. The Caslot family can trace their roots in Bourgueil back to 1640. Upon the passing of Pierre Caslot in 2014, his three children, Emmanuel, Stéphanie, and Laurie, who are the 13th generation, they took up reins at the estate. Regrettably, Stéphanie passed away unexpectedly earlier this year. I never had a chance to meet Stéphanie, but from everything that I've read, she was one of the most warm, kind, vivacious, and generous human beings in this business. And I'm convinced that that trait runs in the family. When I emailed the estate, Laurie replied with such enthusiasm and generosity in terms of how she answered my questions about their vineyards and terroirs and their soils and the wines. It was really just such a pleasure. And I'm deeply, deeply grateful to Laurie for making that effort so that a video like this could be possible. So the family has 33 hectares of vines, predominantly in the commune of Restigné. They do have some parcels, however, in the neighboring commune of Domaine, specifically in the lieu-dit of Grandmont. So Restigné is on the east side of the Changillon River, and it, along with the commune of Bourgueil, which is directly opposite Restigné on the west side of the Changillon River, these are the only two communes in Bourgueil that have vineyards on both the ancient alluvial terraces as well as vineyards that are on the tuffeau slopes. So to give you a little bit of the lay of the land here in Restigné, the vineyards start about 3 kilometers north of the Loire River, and they stretch across the middle of the commune from east to west about 4 kilometers. And it's here in the center of Restigné where we find the vineyards that are on this ancient alluvial terrace. These are the deep, sandy, gravelly, silty soils that sit atop the lower Turonian tuffeau bedrock. As we move north into the commune, specifically moving about 2 kilometers towards the northeast up the slope, is where the topsoil gets increasingly more shallow, and we have more clay here in the topsoil as well, and there's a greater influence of the Turonian tuffeau bedrock. And in fact, we're actually on different tuffeau here. Depending on where you are on the slope, you can either be on the middle Turonian or the upper Turonian tuffeau. Finally, towards the top of the commune, just before we hit the forest, there's a plateau here, and this is where we find the deep Sannonian era clays and sands mixed with flint. So here, just in the small commune of Restigné, there is a huge diversity of terroirs. So for this wine, this is coming from 6 hectares worth of vineyards from parcels that are scattered all across this ancient alluvial terrace. And Laurie explained to me that there's about 160 centimeters of soil here before we hit the lower Turonian tuffeau chalk bedrock. There's about 10 centimeters of a sand silt topsoil that's mixed with a bit of gravel, quartz, and flint. And then the subsoil is a mix of sand, silt, and clay, about 25% clay content. And as we move deeper into that subsoil, just before we hit the Turonian tuffeau chalk, there's some chalk pebbles and some gravel in the subsoil. The vines here for this wine are 35 to 40 or so years of age. And I should say as well, all their vineyards are farm certified biodynamic. Now, these vineyards here that are on this ancient alluvial terrace are really best suited for wines that are made in an early drinking style, softer, more fruitier styles of Cabernet Franc. And as such, the fruit is handled accordingly in the cellar. So that means shorter maceration time on skins. It also means gentler cap management techniques as well as shorter élevage. So for this wine, this was fermented in concrete with indigenous yeast, and it spent about 22 days on skins. And they did do some gentle pump overs during that time, no punch downs though. And then the aging took place also in concrete for about 12 months before bottling. So let's see where this wine is going today. Now, I'm absolutely loving the nose on this wine. Now, it is a 2017, so there is some evolution on this for sure. I'm getting some really nice red fruit notes. Specifically a bit of cherry, there's some raspberry here, a little bit of cranberry as well. And it is kind of starting to lean into a little bit of a dried spectrum. There's even a touch of like a green and fig note as well, which is quite nice. The pyrazines do come forward a bit. I would definitely call this wine a bit more savory or earthy. The pyrazines for me are cooling herbs like thyme as well as rosemary, and there's also this wonderful fir note, like fir as in the tree. But the nose is very perfumed. There's a nice floral undertone, like sort of pink as well as purple flowers. And then there's a great spice profile to the nose, which I am totally digging today. And for me, it's like this mix of Christmas spices. So there's clove, there's allspice and cinnamon, and a little bit of star anise going on. And then there's this additional note of sassafras, which many people may not know what sassafras is, but for me as a kid, we used to make hard candies around this time of year, and my favorite flavor of hard candy that we used to make was sassafras. And it's a very distinctive note, and I would encourage anyone to go to their local shop and try and pick up like an essence of sassafras to give it a smell and see what that profile, because this wine for me, there's like a hint of that in it, which is really quite cool. On the palate, those same fruits come through really nicely. Fruits lean a touch tartar on the palate, which is quite nice. The acidity is really vibrant, quite bright, and I like how those sort of tart fruits kind of add this extra degree of kind of levity to the palate. The mouthfeel of this wine, the tannins are rather low, very soft and very fine in the mouth, and there's a nice silkiness to the texture on the palate in terms of that mouthfeel. I absolutely adore where this wine is at. There's some nice tertiary notes that are now coming through on the palate, a little bit of licorice, some mushroom here, a touch of cocoa as well. The overall profile of this wine is quite energetic. It has this wonderful, friendly, convivial character to it. It's also very open. There's a fineness and a giving kind of nature, like you've just walked into somebody's home and they've just wrapped their arms around you and given you a great big hug. It feels really honest, really humble to me. And when I was doing my preparations for this video, I came across this great quote. It was on Pascaline Lepeltier's website, and it was a quote from Stéphanie that said, "Wine has no value unless it's shared." And I think that quote really does sum up what this wine is all about. This wine is meant to be on a table. It's meant to be shared amongst family and friends over a great meal. Perhaps a simple roast chicken or something like that would be fantastic. But it's such a delicious wine, and I think it's at this wonderful spot in its drinking window in terms of its evolution, and I love the extra tertiary elements that it's giving me today. If you've had this wine or any of the wines from Domaine de la Chevalerie, let me know what you thought of them, or if you have a favorite, let me know what it is in the comments below. And of course, as always, I will be back again soon with another wine. Cheers.